Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to all the Akim out of the four corners, teaching truth and sincerity. This is Tasha Kwaa Mouth of the GMS Dallas camp, coming at you with a quick lesson. The Lord's willingness is edifying unto the hopeful elect. Okay, because we are in some trying times, but we're in some exciting times of today. Holy hell has popped off already this year. Yahweh Shemel Shai has let Nero 2.0 or President uh, 47 um, step in and act more stout than his fellows. And when I say that, I'm talking about all these other Edomite-led countries, all right? Because Esau, has made a point in today's in Salakia in these times to show forth exactly who he is, which is a vagabond. Uh, he someone that doesn't have power, and he likes to boast and to show that he has some. But Yahweh Shemel Shah will always make a way for the elect to overcome their enemies. All right. So I just got a couple of scriptures. Aparatazai, again, I pray this lesson is edifying unto the hopeful elect. I'm going to go here in 2nd Ezra chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 7 just to get to the point. It says, Then answered I and said, When shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end time, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So this is Ezra's asking the question of when is all this going to end? When is all this going to take place? All right. Well, after 2,000 years, calling Abba Shemel Shai, since the death of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, all the way up until today, we have the blessings to see the fall of our enemy. Okay? Because we're watching the scriptures speak live and direct. All right? And it's only speaking to those that have an ear. As Yahweh Shemel Shai said, he that have an ear, let him hear. All right? So if you have ears, listen. If you have eyes, see through the spirit all the hell that's about to come together on Babylon the Great and upon this world with these other nations, because Yahweh Shemel Shah about to put on a show. Okay, so I'll continue. It says, and he said unto me, for Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau was born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. So this happened, but it's also showing a systematic view of things. Okay, so it says from Abraham unto Isaac when Jacob. So Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the forefathers of the nation of Israel. Okay, Abraham being the father of all, or the father of the multitude. Isaac, which was Abraham's firstborn. Well, the firstborn in the spirit. We all know that Ishmael was the firstborn, but he was the firstborn of a bondwoman. Isaac was the firstborn of a freed woman, which was a woman of Israel. You know, a woman of the lineage of Israel. You know, and Jacob. You know, the progenitor of the 12 tribes, which consist of your so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, and Negroid descent. Better yet, let me pull a scripture going in on that, just so I can be, on point with that. So this is this is Ecclesiastes or Ecclesiasticus chapter 42. I'll start at verse 22. Is it verse 22? Salakia. Or is it 43? It's 44. Salakia. I'll start at 21. It says, really, you can start at 19. I'll start at 19 just to get Abraham in there. It says Abraham was the father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him. It says, who kept the law of Yahweh Shemiah Shai, all right, and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful. So how about Shemiah Shai found, our forefather Abraham faithful, because Abraham actually tied to Mount Chezedek, which was Yahweh Shai, if you could, grasp it in the spirit. But I'll continue. It says, verse 21, it says, therefore, or verse 20. So like it's verse 21. It says, therefore he assured him by an oath that he would establish it says, therefore he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations and his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and establish and exalt his seed, as the stars. All right. So Yahweh Shemiah Shai said this in an oath to Abraham, that he's going to be, the father of many nations. All right, and that he established that it's going to be trickled down. The promises are going to be trickled down from him, unto his sons and his sons. All right. So again, father of the multitude. All right. But I'll continue. It says, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the rivers unto the unto the utmost parts of the land. All right, so he's going to get pretty much the whole known world. Okay, that was his blessing. His blessing was supposed to be, from sea to sea, from river to land. He is supposed to be the whole known world known to man. Okay. It says, verse 22, it says, with Isaac did he establish likewise for Abraham his father's sake the blessings of all men. It says, and the covenant. All right, so he got the blessings, he got the covenant. It says, and made it rest upon the head of Jacob, and he uh, acknowledged him in his blessing and gave him inheritance, and divided his portion among the 12 tribes did he part them. All right, so Abraham, the blessing went to Abraham, then it went to Isaac, then it went to Jacob. All right, so there was no piece that went to Ishmael in the blessing of Isaac. It didn't go to Ishmael. Ishmael didn't get a piece, but he is blessed. He's blessed in these times because he has all that oil. Okay, but also from Isaac down to Jacob. Jacob was blessed. Jacob, I think he had like 8 sons. All right, but we're following the righteous lineage. All right, from Abraham unto Isaac, Isaac unto Jacob, and Jacob, it's like Abraham had 8 sons. Just to clear that up. But unto Jacob, Jacob had 12 sons, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, so all they got all the blessings that Abraham received. That they're gonna have the fruit of the land and the fruit of the sea. Loosely paraphrasing, if you can understand it. So going back here to 2nd Esdras, chapter 6. I think I was at 8. Come, it says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau. So whenever Jacob and Esau were born, Esau was born first, but Jacob, because they were fighting in the womb, his hand had a firm grip on Esau's heel, to show that the pulling down of Esau's kingdom is going to be the rise of Jacob's kingdom. But I'll continue. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, this age that we have now. All right, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Jacob's kingdom's coming quickly, through first and foremost Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So Yahweh Shai is going to be the king of the next nation to rule, which is the nation of Jacob, i.e. the Israelites, because Jacob's name was turned to Israel. Okay. Now, with that said, Esau is doing everything he can to set up another lineage or another rulership, unbeknownst to him, Yahweh Shai is going to smash that. Okay. But this next rulership that he's trying to force or make it to his liking, because that's what Esau does. Right? He just goes in and forces his way into whatever he's trying to do, and then he'll just make it work. All right, but I was going to pull 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, verse. It's like in verse 43. Because with all this hell that Esau is playing out on this earth right now, all right, because we're seeing the end of this world. You know, Kala Yabashim Shai, we see that it's falling, all right, and that's a blessing. Okay, so I'm gonna read this in 2 Ezra 7:43. It says, "But the day of doom shall be the end of this time." It says, "And the beginning of immortality for to come." It says, "Wherein corruption is past, you know, intemperance is at an end." It says, "Infidelity is cut off, and righteousness is growing, and truth is springing up." All right, so everything wicked is being uprooted. All right, so righteousness and truth shall go forth. All right, if you can receive that. Okay, it says, "Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory." So Esau Edom's not going to come back and try to rule over the nation of Israel. Okay, because the nation of Israel is going to go from being a slave to being in power. All right, and that's what he fears, and that's what he's always feared, being here in his kingdom. That's why he has oppressed, Jacob, or the lineage of Jacob, the Israelites, so hard. That makes me think of that. Is it Second Ezra? Second Ezra chapter 11, in verse 40 or 41. Yeah, it says, "For the earth hast thou not judged in truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm." Because Esau Edom has been a tyrant. He has gone across the planet Earth, maiming, killing, and destroying everything in his way. All right. If you're not for him to rule over thee, he's going to kill you right there on the spot. Okay. And it talks about that in that Sirach chapter 13. I think it's verse 7. Let me pull that. 13 and 7. It's in 6. It says, "If he have need of thee, he will deceive thee and smile upon thee and put thee in hope, and he will speak thee fair and say, What wantest thou?" So Esau Edom is using that treacherous, double tongue, as it says in Psalm chapter 55. I perceive how he'll smile in your face and then stab you in the back, as he did to the nation of, or to the tribe of Gad. He came over here needing help. Gad helped him out, and then whenever Gad, or the nation of Gad, was dwelling peaceably with him, he got stabbed in the back. Okay, but going back to this, this is back in Sirach chapter 13, verse 7. It says, and he will shame thee by his meats, until he hath drawn thee dry twice or thrice, and at the last he will laugh thee to scorn afterward, when he seeth thee, he will forsake thee, and spake Salakia, and shake his head at thee. So Esau Edom's going to get you, rend you dry twice or even thrice. Basically take everything that he wants from you until you have nothing left. All right, and that's exactly what the nation of Israel has gone through. All right, even now, with these unjust weights, these unjust laws, as it says in that Baruch chapter 3, and I know I'm all over the spot, but it's all going to culminate because Esau Edom is doing the most. All right, he's doing so much now. It's to the point to where it's like, bro, why the fuck are we even talking? Shit, we should be throwing blows. All right, but 3 and 8. It's 3 and 8, and I'll read down to 10. It says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from Yahweh Shemiel Shah, our power." All right, because Esau is the one, giving. He's forcing us to pay, for stuff that, we're giving him 60% of our check or 50% of our check in taxes, and he's not even helping out the people who these taxes are supposed to go to. He's taking them and going to a whole other nation and helping them out. And I'm talking about the small hats, because these motherfuckers don't do shit. Hell, there's a city of small hats up there in New York right now. All right, and that's living off the hog, living off food stamps and welfare and whatever they can get, and then they're having like 13, 14 kids. This is unjust. The men don't work, and then whenever they're asked who works in the household, they say the women do, and the women are just working to take care of the kids. So make that make sense. It doesn't. So I'll come back to this. Verse 9, it says, "Hear Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear to understanding, to understand wisdom." Okay, because the Most High already gave us the blueprint. Okay, these scriptures, these are the blueprint, in order to get on the chariot, and we have to understand wisdom that's in it. All right, verse 10, it says, "How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead." So we are in our enemy's land because we were brought over here on cargo slave ships, and some of us in Reuben, Gad, and Issachar, was taken from here to Seville, Spain, which is the reverse slave capital of the world, to serve out captivity of the same kind in another land. So they're taken out of their land double time, because their main land is the nation of Israel. Well, is the land of Israel. All right, but they left their land, during uh, Hoshea the king of Assyria. They got taken out of their land to where they fled over here in that Second Ezra chapter 13. To get away from their captives. All right, and now they have been taken back into captivity on the other side of the planet. But all that to say, you know, uh, uh, so they're waxing old in another land, of your enemies. Because if you don't know, you have enemies now. You weren't listening, because or reading, because you have enemies, and your enemies are all around you. All right. But I'll read it again. It says, "How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, and or that thou art waxing old in a strange country?" Because this is a strange country. Uh, it says that thou art defiled with the dead. All right, and we're defiled with the dead because of the how Israel is not tied back to their heritage. They're dead mentally. They're not dead physically. They're dead spiritually. All right, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is not in them to do well doing in front of the eyes of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay, and a call Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because the elect needs to do proper in the eyes of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, so they can be saved, and the whole nation can be saved off of their works, and that's how it's going to happen. But I'm going to go back to that. I was going to pull that Second Ezra chapter 2, and then I'll sum this up. Because Esau Edom, hey, he was a good part of the movie. I mean, he was the villain, and he did a great job. I'm going to go to this is Second Ezra 2. I'll go to 24. It says, "Abide still, O my people, and take thy rest for thy quietness still come." It says, "Nourish thy children, O thou good nurse, establish the feet." It says, "As for the servant whom I have given thee, there shall not one of them perish." It says, "For I will require them from among thy number." So I think I read the wrong one. Salakia. Is it 24? Salakia, it was 27. It says, "Be not weary, for when they Salakia, be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness come, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry, and have abundance. This is Yahweh Shemi Shai, showing forth once again that he is going to be with his people, as they go through all this holy hell that's coming upon the earth right now. It says, the heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith Yahweh Shemi Shai. It says, my hands shall cover thee, so that my children shall not see hell. All right, because Yahweh Shemi Shai is going to protect us. All right, as we go through all this holy hell right now, we're gonna have to cut off some things, but whenever you cut something off, all right, something better comes forth. All right, especially if you stay and locked into the spirit. All right, because Esau Edom can only do so much. He can't do what the Most High can do. All right, he can't come up against the spirit. All right, and that's what he wants anyway. Esau Edom wants the spirit of a man. He wants to dictate, his goings and comings from this planet, and Esau can't do that. Okay, but Amalek, Salakia, but I'll read it again. I'll read 29 again. It says, my hands shall cover thee, because Yahweh Shemi Shai is going to be our strong stay. He's going to be our protection from the heat, as it says in that Ecclesiasticus chapter 34, and I'll start at 13. It says, the spirit of those that fear Yahweh Shemi Shai shall live. It says, for their hope is in him that saveth them. See, it goes right into it, because Yahweh Shemi Shai is going to save the elect. Okay, verse 14, it says, whoso feareth Yahweh Shemi Shai shall not fear nor be afraid, for he is his hope. Yahweh Shemi Shai is the hope of the elect. Okay, that's who they've been stayed upon this whole time, since they woke up in the truth, and Yahweh Shemi Shai is going to protect them until he delivers them out of this world, especially out of Babylon the Great. Okay, I'll read 15. It says, blessed is the soul of him that feareth Yahweh Shemi Shai, to whom doeth he look, and who is his strength. Yahweh Shemi Shai is our strength. He's the one that gives us strength every day that we wake up, to allow us to contend against these demons, to give us our daily bread. All right. Verse 16, it says, for the eyes of Yahweh Shemi Shai are upon them that love him. It says, he is their mighty protection and strong stay, a defense from heat, and a cover from the sun at noon. All right, a preservation from stumbling, and in help from falling. So Yahweh Shemi Shai is pretty much everything that the elect needs to get through this holy hell. It says a strong stay, a defense from heat. That's whenever those thermonuclear missiles pop off over here. All right. By the time that happens, the elect will be beamed up and out of this hell. They're going to be with Yahweh Shai in the chariots. But hey, so like it got kind of long on me. Lord's will, I pray this was edifying. And I pray that Yahweh Shemi Shai be with you all. Want to give all praises, honor, and glory until Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Kakodash. Shalom and Shalom.